Hello friend, my name is Asindra and today I am going to be playing for you Embers of Magic by Ithqua Labs with Allie H. That's where you say hi.
Heyo. I said hey.
Okay. If you enjoy this series, you should check out his channel, youtube.com/officialfolgers, where we play Brilliant Shadows, which is a game set in the same universe but a couple centuries later.
Yeah, it's
And
really
it's
good.
really fun. Okay, so are you ready to begin?
I am ready to begin.
Okay. I'm gonna be Titus, you can be Liana?
Yes.
The main character.
Yeah, the girl.
Okay. I thought you said that looking down there made you sad. The melancholy of seeing the ruins of the old world or something. You're also the narrator.
Do you want me to read the? Okay. We're saying Titus, right?
Yeah.
Alright. Titus sat what?
Titus,
it's my
what?
it's my turn to freak out and not be able to read. Titus sat next to her, slipping his legs off the edge as well, placing his walking staff beside him. Not today. Today it's clear, and I can see the greens and the yellows and oranges, the colors of life. Not just the blues of the ocean or the white of the clouds. Once we had looked up... Were you going to say something?
Nope.
Oh, it was like a little...
Yeah, I wanted to do the narration, and then I was like, no, Cin,
Oh.
no.
Once we had looked up and marveled at their beauty, but now the condensed water vapors were little more than a source of irritation. Below them was Wind Basin, the largest island...
Basin.
Basin?
Yeah,
You say Basin.
weird.
The largest island in the winding archipelago. Liana glanced to her side, surveying her friend instead of the view far below. Do you ever wish we could go back down there?
Not really. Not if it's anything like how we left it.
There's no way it's still so dangerous. The magic must have begun to settle by now.
I'm sure that's what the last few to go down there said, and yet they never returned.
Have you considered that they might have simply decided to stay?
I suppose you could argue that they decided to become part of the circle of life. Getting eaten by a monster would definitely be a reason to stay.
Liana groaned at the joke, kicking her feet. Oh, she's sticking her tongue out.
Yep.
You don't know that. Why can't we just make the city, I don't know, go a bit lower? Take a quick peek?
Unlike you, the council has a strong sense of self-preservation.
You mean they're boring?
We may be boring, but at least we're alive. It's more than can be said of the billions lost down there. It's not so bad here. Even compared to the world we knew before, this place is a wonder. A breathtaking view, fresh food in abundance, and magic of a power beyond anything we knew before.
And in the end, it's still nothing but a prison. I miss the earth. I need to feel rough ground beneath me, rocks under my toes, and plants that weren't carefully cultivated in neat rows by a legion of professional gardeners. Not to mention animals. I miss wildlife.
I am perfectly content with not meeting the wildlife down there.
Stolas is wildlife.
And he was likely born on Teruth.
No, he wasn't. I forgot that I was reading this now. A small chirrup noise came from Liana's hair. I doubt it. I wasn't able to find evidence of a single other owl living up here. As though on cue, a tiny owl that seemed made entirely of eyes waddled to just under her neck and nibbled at her hair. If he wasn't born here, then it means he came from somewhere else.
Can I just say that her hair is actually really fantastic? Like, it's got the loop things going, and that's awesome.
I want to know if those are heavy.
I know, right? They look
Also,
heavy.
also, I just noticed that she appears to be wearing like what looks like what's called like a leotard or something like that,
Yeah.
and then her pants are not on at all.
Yeah, I noticed that later on, her sprite, or whatever it's called, is still like that. And it's like, how
Yeah.
are you keeping your pants up? I mean, I know you've got a belt, but that thing isn't even tight, so, like,
Yeah, it's just like there.
maybe it's magic.
It's got to be magic.
Because His parents probably live under a house you've never been to. Some owls can burrow, you know.
I suppose he could be classified in the Athene family. She sounded unsure. He had colors on him that no owl should rightly have, not that they were not lovely colors. Maybe the magic that had created the horrors below had also created new life. It was a fragile hope. I've mapped every area that isn't paved. I've scaled every height in what are we saying, Tayruth?
Teruth?
Tayruth? In Tayruth. Even the underside. I think that after 100 years, I would have a good sense of what kind of wildlife we had.
You know that Professor Tulith still blames you for the loss of the Eastern Tower.
What? And I still say it wasn't my fault. Below them, the world drifted past. It's just not fair when there's so much beneath us that we're exiled to this tiny speck of floating rock.
Some say it's better than we deserve.
The two sat in silence for a time, Liana staring unfocused at the earth far below them as the warm breezes tickled her face and Stolas puffed into ball mode to sleep. Ball mode. He's a tiny little ball.
Did you notice that her friend does not have a leg?
I
guess
did
that's
notice
what the
that, yeah.
walking stick is for.
Earlier, though, it did say he dangled his legs.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. And then it pulled up, and I was like, he's got one leg.
Just one.
Yeah. I like his costuming, though. Outfit.
Yeah, it's very bright. It's
Yeah.
nice.
Time passed. Liana couldn't begin to say how long. She just took in the rolling world below.
Didn't you say you hated looking at the ruins?
She blinked, Stolas perking up. What? They changed his name to Titus.
Weird.
She turned to Titus, then followed his gaze back to where hers had only just lay. Her eyebrows furrowed as her brain struggled to absorb the retinal information it was receiving. There, far beneath her, was an enormous stone pyramid. Ruins were not an uncommon sight on the clear days where one could see the world below. After all, with a population in the billions, there were a few places that humans hadn't lived. But these ruins didn't seem right. Was it their location? Where was this exactly anyway? That was when it clicked. Those aren't ruins. The blood rushing through her veins felt like white water rapids in her ears. That's a new construction, Titus. Back to a D. The man grunted as Liana shuffled desperately to her feet, Stolas hooting. Titus, that's new! Those aren't ruins! It had to have been built after the rupture.
Liana, that's impossible.
But she was already tugging her huge journal, her knuckles white as she gripped the railing. I have to see it.
Liana, how are you even going to get down there?
Without a response, beyond a ripping sound and a panicked hoot from Stolas, Liana was gone, bare feet slapping the cobblestones as she pounded down the street, down the stairs, and out of his sight. Bye.
You know, what if she dropped her book?
Yeah. She's like, I have to go, and just falls over the edge.
Yep.
Titus stared after her, his mouth half open. With a small laugh, he shrugged to himself, laying one hand on Liana's boots.
Can't let her leave without these.
Oh god, we're stupid.
Yeah.
Anne wiped his hands on his overalls. What was this, the 5th or 6th layer of wood treatment? He doubted any ship needed that much liqueur. It was more than liqueur, too. He had found materials for the spell in one of the older books in the abandoned library. He let out a long, pained sigh. Anne watched as the slack lines whipped in the wind. Once again, he released a long sigh. How long would it be before he could unfurl the sails? Anne! Anne jumped so high he nearly cleared the railings of the ship. Fortunately, he had the finesse to make the action seem purposeful, striking the heels of his boots hard onto the rail and completing the maneuver with an elaborate flourish as he turned about.
Why, hello there, missy!
I love his character. Who the devil was she, anyway? Whoops. Anne, I need you to let me sail with you.
Like, seriously, what the hell is holding up her pants?
Yeah, they're not there. I can only imagine that the belt is, like, weirdly attached to the
Back of
the back of the knot jacket thing.
Yeah.
And also attached by not the belt to the pants.
Jesus, weird.
For a moment, Anne only met her gaze in silence, trying to judge if the girl was serious. Instead of any hint of a mocking tone, he found in her eyes and voice only urgency.
Do you know what you'd be asking of me, lass?
Wow, you're really serious about the whole pirate thing, aren't you? Anne ignored the question, as Liana's eyes still met his with a fierceness that he had never found from the ones who came here to mock him.
Aye, but I could be asking you the same.
Below us, there's some kind of structure, but it's new. If we don't leave immediately, we'll drift too far past it to ever find it again easily. You have the only prepped airship. Nines, I bet you've got the only functional airship at this point. Anne met her gaze, measuring the steel in her eyes.
Then we'd best be off quick as a gibbet. I just be needing 5 minutes and 23 seconds before we set off.
Anne flourished into an elaborate bow before breaking off into a desperate run. And he's running for his life.
Yep.
Liana blinked after the man, stunned that anyone had agreed to her request, much less with so little argument. Whoops. I'm broken. I keep clicking like 2 ahead.
Oh.
So little argument. Where in the nines was he going anyway? The pirate turned a corner so sharply Liana thought he might topple and was gone from sight. Taking the time to assess the ship, Liana pulled out her journal. It was habit, if not pure instinct now, that made her begin making notations in her journal. She recorded details of the docks, the weather, and the ship. The ship was moored in a skyship dock mounted 3 feet from the ground. She noted it wasn't flying yet as she counted the windows. Every once in a while, her eyes flicked downwards towards the spiraling sea of clouds that now concealed the lands below.
Is she like a journalist? Or not a journalist, but a what's the one that records things?
Like a
historian?
I was gonna say like that's what I was gonna use, historian. I feel like it's all for personal benefit.
Maybe. Maybe she just wants to know everything ever.
Oh, or I just had an idea that I can possibly mention later on, so as not to go into spoiler territory. Okay. She was halfway through with a quick sketch of the main mast when a thump made her spin around. That wasn't even 4 minutes! Titus cocked an eyebrow as he struggled to catch his breath. That staff is like the most impractical staff I've ever seen.
Why is it like that?
Yeah, I don't. It has like another little crook towards the bottom.
Yep.
Her boots were by her side, and a pair of boot prints marred the otherwise spotless side of the ship. Idly, she wiggled her toes, just now realizing that they were bare. Oh, thanks. Scooping up the boots, she walked over to him and leaned against the side of the ship as she slipped them on. Striking a needlessly epic pose, Liana adopted a feigned, serious tone. I'll be flying soon. Lost to the long sky. She waited for the breezes which plagued the shipyards to blow her hair for effect, but it only managed to whip it in her face and get several strands stuck in her mouth.
Flying on Anne's ship? That kid is a loon. He thinks he's a pirate.
He was looking at the ship critically.
Not to mention it would take more sky lilies than anyone is allowed to requisition in a year to fly this thing. It's made almost entirely out of oak.
Narrowing his eyes and examining it more critically, Titus muttered to himself.
Bamboo probably would have been a better choice. Lighter. Maybe balsa if...
Titus.
Sorry, what?
Come with me. Liana lowered her sketchbook, standing straight and meeting the older witch's gaze. Titus's eyes fell on the ship. He seemed to take it all in, and a light sparkled in his eyes. For a heartbeat, she thought he looked tempted. And then it was gone.
You know I can't.
Titus wrapped the hole with a staff.
Even if Anne could get it to fly.
Liana smirked as she added a note to her sketch of Titus. Very serious, it read. Ever a slave to duty.
Someone has to be. The council is content with it just surviving. When the power systems failed, we lost most of the archives of magic. All we have left is...
I was going to say, whoops. That's why I feel like she's writing this down, is because they don't have a whole lot of books or anything like that. So she's like, we have to keep a detailed history because we don't have what we used to have.
Yeah. All we have left is books, and most people don't even know where the library is. I have a real chance to change things, Liana.
As an afterthought, she added, wears way too much orange as a final note. Excuse you, it looks wonderful.
Yeah.
It's just one orange tunic.
I mean, the belt could be considered orange as well.
Yeah. It doesn't matter.
His shawl kind of looks like the wings of the owl.
It does kind of.
Maybe he gave birth to the owl.
Oh, God. Why would you say that? He's all, oh, maybe it was born here on Teruth. Not from speaking from any personal knowledge of this subject. A commotion in the distance prompted her to close the book. Make sure they get some practical experience. You can't learn everything from books. Liana grinned at Titus and they shared a smile. The commotion seemed to grow louder and she looked behind Titus to see a figure sprinting at an impossible speed, tearing towards the ship. It was Anne, or at least she assumed it was. Beyond the distinctive boots, there was little to see beyond a cloud of uprooted sky lilies. Several heavily built witch guards were close on his tail. No, that truly didn't give Anne justice. They were certainly following, at least, but the way the man moved. Liana wondered what spell the pirate witch had used.
Halt!
You want me to read
that
this?
man!
Oh.
You can be the other guard. Thief!
Oh, is that a separate guard?
There's a female guard and there's a male guard, I think.
Oh, okay. Stolas hooted softly, dancing in that odd way owls do.
Hoo-hoo, lassie! Skim the wharf, for we be cutting air!
She wondered if those were actual words. Dropping her journal, which swung on thick cords around her waist, she began untying the ship from the dock.
Oh, it's good that she's got something to keep it from going anywhere.
Yeah, right.
Though really, it just looks like if you drop that book, it'll just tug down her pants.
Just a little bit.
You can't be serious.
Watch my garden for me. Liana was halfway done with the thick rope. Mrs. Cooper has 3 of my books. Make sure she returns them, or puts them in the library, or something.
Liana, you're not gonna be gone that long, surely.
She'll swear she only has 2, because the other has risque content. But it's the only known copy, so you better get it back. Anne struck the deck with enough force to shake the ship, causing Titus to fight for his balance in the wake. Halt! Stop him! Titus spun around, his face a contorted mask of guilt and uncertainty.
Just shows up for a second.
Yeah. Anne flew below deck with such speed Liana would have thought him to have fallen if not for the cadence of his footsteps. Liana wasn't sure what the captain was doing, but made haste to unfurl the sails. The blue blasters, the flowers that look like morning glories need to be sprayed with lemon water twice a day. That sounds like she's made something
illegal.
That's not legal. And she's like, my, similar to morning glory flowers that are not blue blasters, definitely.
Yeah.
Anne returned as abruptly as he had left, no longer holding an armload of sky lilies, his face a manic grin. Titus stepped towards the ship, his hand outstretched towards Liana at a complete loss for words. He looked near tears, and Liana's heart wrenched with its own guilt. The pirate had one hand on the ship's wheel as the ship lurched unnaturally. And Titus? He spun the wheel hard to one side. Sorry things didn't work out.
I feel like
There.
she was just doing that for dramatic effect.
Yeah, she's just trying to be fancy again.
Yeah.